Well, I was going, oh, they're a little ticked off in Vegas right now. But I said, we're still alive. So every day you're still alive. There's only 6 days left in the season, so, you know. I mean, like at I don't know if stranger things have happened, but I mean, Pittsburgh made the playoffs, and the Steelers last year, I think it was 2 or 3 teams had to beat favorite teams, and they had to win by a certain amount, and they did, and they got in. So crazy things can happen in sport. I've seen it a lot of times in the last day of the year, where the underdog is beaten. A team just has to win the game, and they're heavily favored, and they don't win. So it's, you know, if you give up hope, then you're done. So you always have to believe that there's a chance. And if we win tomorrow, you never know. Vegas has got to win, or they're out. I would think if Dallas beats them. I'm not sure. I haven't done those numbers, but you know, that means that we can live to fight one more day, and that maybe one of those underdog teams feel like San Jose, that this is their Stanley Cup game, that they play better than maybe they're capable of, and they upset them, and then maybe the Thursday game becomes a valid game. So hey, you never quit until it's done.
Does it add any sense of, it certainly doesn't add a sense of probability, but does it add a sense of the hope that it comes with 1 goal, 1 second left? Does that almost feel like it's fate?
Well, you want to hope that, but I mean, in reality, it's not. It's just a dumb play by a defenseman on Vegas to try to clear it instead of just hold it in the corner for 2 seconds. So.
What was your literal reaction, by the way? You're sitting on a couch, easy chair, in a restaurant?
No, I was at home going, holy, is poor George going to be upset now? That was the first thing, because I know George, he's a good friend of mine, and I know how he is as far as competitive, and that was my first thought, man, he's not going to be happy.
You know, like you actually cheer or react?
By myself, so I don't know if anybody would have heard anyway, right? You know. No, just, wow, we're still in it.
I presume that when you took over, because you mentioned you had a number in mind, which you'll tell us after the season what the number was that you had to get to. But I presume you did some math on December 5th, where you needed to go. Did you actually think you would make it to the last week of the regular season, where you guys would stay?
I mean, you guys don't know me that well, but I mean, listen, I'm the same guy that I believe in things that happen. Like, I mean, I believe when I was 38 years old playing in Fort Wayne that I still had a chance at making the NHL. Like, I mean, and I always found that if you stop believing, then it never happens. But if you believe in it hard enough, that maybe some dreams do come true. And so I did believe when, I mean, Francesco asked me on the plane, he said, do you think you can make the playoffs? And I said, absolutely. I mean, I had done it before. I mean, it takes, you know, quite a miracle in a lot of ways, but thought, you know, if we could get on a run and we could do it again. And I mean, we played pretty darn good for 4.5 months. And I mean, there's going to be games this summer, or days this summer, where I'm going to look back at some of those games and just be so angry if we don't make it, that those games cost you. But you learn by it, and you sit there and you go, okay, when you're talking in October and you're getting mad at the team for not, you know, taking another team seriously or not putting out, you can just relate back to 1 year ago today, and especially, you know, if I'm here and relate to the games that were going on, they say, hey, listen, if we had won that game, you wouldn't be crying, you know, last year. So I mean, it's good teaching points.
How do you balance, just talk about it, how do you balance the happiness and the hurt? Because in the second half, you guys knocked off a lot of elite teams, yet there were nights against bottom feeders that you probably should have won.
I think that's sport, though. I mean, you know, like, I mean, it happens every day where an underdog beats if all the favorites won, boy, the betting world would really take a hit, right? So I mean, sometimes you they're all human beings, so you don't play at an elite level every night, even though you'd think you'd like them to play at elite levels. Sometimes they have things going on in their lives where it just doesn't work, and they're not into the game, or they're tired, or they're playing with pain, or there's things going on at home that that they don't tell anybody, and so other things are on their mind other than the focus, and that's one of the reasons playoffs are so great, because everybody has one thing in mind all the time, and that's and then playing hard as you can and winning. So those are the exciting times.
Your messaging has been so good with the team the entire year, or second half of this year, Bruce. Do you say anything now? I mean, the players know what happened last night. Do you have to say anything?
What I did, let them know, and I always think of that Jim Valvano quote, never give up type thing, and I think that comes from being in the minors for so long and never knowing if you're gonna get a job the next year, whether it's playing or coaching, but you just keep striving for it. So I hope they've gotten that message this year, that it's a never give up situation, and that winning is a culture that you bring, and I'm hoping if there's anything I'm bringing to the team, it's that the winning is the only important thing. It doesn't matter as long as you win, and hopefully that comes through to them.
Bruce, no Demko today, presumably just maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to confirm that, and additionally, would you like to get Spencer Martin into a game before the end of the season? Really give us something.
Well, I think you would, but sometimes you think if you're putting Spencer in, that means that other things have happened, right? If Demmer can play, he's going to play. And if we're eliminated, well, then there's different scenarios that can happen. But right now, we're looking at Demmer. He's been our guy all year. He's been the guy that's, if you're looking at a guy that's kept you in more games than not, then that would be him.
Bruce, what have you made of Travis Dermott's play so far?
He's been steady. I think there's room for growth, but he's been pretty steady. He hasn't hurt us, and I'm glad to see he finally started getting a couple points, because now you'll see it start going. It's always that first point that breaks the ice, and then after that you can start going. But he's been solid, as has Brad Hunt and Kyle Burrows when they've played that fifth, sixth. Until the last two games, and I haven't looked at the numbers yet, but we were in the top 10 defensively, and I know in the last 50 games we were in the top 5. So those guys must be doing a good job.
When I talked to Doug Lidster yesterday about his record, he said he was surprised that it's taken Quinn so long, as a compliment. The fact that he already had 50-point years. And you said the other day that, he probably thinks it's cool because he's going to do it again. He had the 2-point outing the other night. What about just being at 63 points for a kid who's just 22 and probably going to turn 64 to 74? Yeah,
he's just touched the tip of the iceberg. He's learning how to play too still. There's room for jumping into the play more that he'll learn with experience, and I'm sure things like he's on his shot, he's going to be working on that to get that harder, because he's a determined young guy, and so when you told me about the Lidster thing, I was not only that's only something in the next 10 years he might break it every year. He's the guy that in the end I think will get 80 points and upwards. I think he's got that capability in him.
What do you think is the best thing about JT Miller?
His competitiveness, I think. Sometimes it rubs people the wrong way, but this guy competes every night, plays with pain. He's got great vision. I just think he's an unknown superstar. I really believe that, at some point he'll get over 100 points, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, or what have you. But he's got a shot that's as good as anybody's. He can make passes as well as anybody. And, if you ask him to fight, he'll fight. Kills penalties. He's a pretty good player.